We've discussed how type checking involves a traversal of the abstract syntax tree, where the environment is uh, passed from top to bottom and the types are passed from bottom to top. So, for example, here is a rule which says that if it is true that in the environment O, if it is updated with a mapping from X to T0, then E has type T, then in the environment O, this whole expression with the scope and the declaration and E evaluates to capital T. Now, if I was to implement this, I would basically need to descend down the tree and update the type environment whenever I enter a new scope, because the new scope will have declarations, and based on the new declarations I will update the environment. And then when I exit the scope, I need to get rid of the extra stuff that I had added when I had entered, because now when I exit the scope I'd want to forget that mapping from X to T0. Now this looks very similar to the same structure of a symbol table. In the symbol table we basically were storing information about what are all the symbols. Here we are additionally storing the information about what are their types. And so the easiest way to do type checking is to do it together with scope checking and maintain the type information as a part of the symbol table. Right? So type environment is often stored in the symbol table. The type environment gives types to the free variable identifiers in the current scope. All right, and this includes the types of the free variables that were declared in the parent scopes or the parent scope and things like that. If this is an AST node N and it has children c1.ci, then the type environment is copied and saved on entering a new scope, just like a symbol table is copied and saved on entering a new scope. And the type environment is populated and used within the scope, right? Just like a symbol table is populated and used within the scope. And types are computed up the AST from the leaves towards the root. And then when you exit a scope, then you forget the mappings of the current scope, right? So old type environment is restored upon exiting the scope. And so this structure is exactly same as how it was done for a symbol table. So here's an example of a rule which involves a scope, a new scope, a declaration and a statement. And in the declaration, unlike the previous example, we are also initializing the declared variable X. And the only interesting thing here is that the initialization X is through an expression E2. And so the rule says that for this to type check correctly, it must be true that E2 has type T2 and T2 is a subtype of T0. This is exactly the same logic that we had for the assignment operator. This is just assignment as part of a declaration. And so it must be true that the type of E2 is a subtype of type T0. Only then would such an assignment be legal, type legal. And further, E1 should if E1 evaluates to type T1 under the updated environment, where in the updation is that you map X to T0, then this entire expression involving the scope, declaration and the original expression E1 evaluates to type T1. Now, once again, if the environment would, when we will enter the scope, the environment would be populated. It would be used to identify the type for E1, and then when we are done, we would, while we are exiting the scope, we would forget this particular environment mapping from X to T0.